Hello, champions. Let's learn about rounding off numbers today. We round off numbers for two reasons. When working with numbers, it is easier to make calculations if they are rounded numbers. This means there are less numbers to work with and we can arrive at an approximate calculation quickly and reasonably accurately. For example, it's easier to calculate 40 plus 50 than it is to calculate 42 plus 49. When working with large numbers, it is easier to work with round numbers. For example, the distance between the Sun and the Earth is 149,597,870 kilometers. Imagine saying that. It's much easier to round this and say the distance between the Earth and the Sun is 150 million kilometers. Over the next slides, we will show you how to round numbers and become quick in your mental math. A round number always has zeros at the end. This is the easiest way to spot a round number to notice the last digit has a zero. As in the example below of 156,000 or 360. The reason for this is that we always round in multiple of tens, hundreds, thousands, 10,000s, 100,000s and millions. We use rounding all the time in real life. It's a quick way of approximating and estimating numbers and calculations. We commonly use rounding for time, age, distances, and weights. You can use rounding for any situation that involves numbers. The idea behind rounding is to make it easier for you. Let's show you one example that you might use. Let's say your date of birth is 5th of April 2012. On 10th of September 2021, how old are you? Well, to be exact to the day, you would say that you are 9 years, 5 months and 5 days old. But see how difficult that was, even to think about how long it took you to work it out. If you want to be accurate but not exact, you might say 9 years and 5 months. But think about what you actually say when someone asks you your age. You would probably just say that you are 9 years old, or you might say you are almost 9.5 years old. See, you're already using rounding. It just makes life easier for everyone. You also use the concept of rounding with your height. Now we have shown you that you already round off numbers. Let's go into the principles of how to round off a number correctly. Now let's try and understand what is happening in rounding. We already know that rounding is always done in tens, hundreds, thousands, 10,000s, 100,000s and millions. Rounding shows which round number the number is closest to. This will be easiest to explain with a single digit and how we round it. A single digit is either close to 0 or to 10. When you look at the number line below, you will see 0 on one side and 10 on one side. If you count the vertical lines, you will see that 5 is exactly in the middle. This is called halfway point. The principle of rounding is that any number that is greater than 5 goes towards the bigger number it is in between, and any number that is less than 5 goes towards the smaller number it is in between. Whether you are asked to round to tens, hundreds, thousands, 10,000s, 100,000s and millions, you will always find a 5 as the halfway mark. For this video, we will only show you how to round tens, hundreds, thousands and 10,000s. And soon you will be able to understand the significance of the number 5 as the halfway point. Let's take a look at a few examples. Let's take the number 3 on the number line. When rounding to the nearest 10, 3 is in between 0 and 10. Is it closer to 10 or is it closer to 0? Yes, it is closer to 0. We can also see that it is less than 5, and we know that 5 is the halfway mark. So, if you round 3 to the nearest 10, it becomes 0. Now, let's take number 6 on the number line. When rounding to the nearest 10, 6 is also in between 0 and 10. Is it closer to 10 or is it closer to 0? Yes, it is closer to 10. We can also see that it is greater than 5, which is the halfway mark. So, if you round 6 to the nearest 10, it becomes 10. Let's talk about how you would round the number 5. When rounding to the nearest 10, 5 is in between 0 and 10 and exactly in the center of both numbers. The principle here is any number 5 or greater rounds to the greater number it is in between. In this case, that is 10. As we discussed, a round number always has a 0 at the end. And when you are rounding a number, you will always be asked to round it to a multiple of tens, hundreds, thousands, and so on. So, here are a few of the common types of rounding you will be expected to be able to do in school. If you are asked to round to the nearest 10, the number you have rounded will always be in multiple of tens. If you are asked to round to the nearest 100, the number you have rounded will always be in multiples of hundreds. If you are asked to round to the nearest 1000, the number you have rounded will always be in multiples of thousands. If you are asked to round to the nearest 10,000, the number you have rounded will always be in multiples of 10,000s. One can also say that you round in units of tens, hundreds, and so on and so forth. Hope you enjoyed learning about rounding off numbers. Here are a few tips for you when you round off numbers. See you next time.